All right, well, hello, my name is Christopher, and I am a small groups pastor of a local church. And in this video, I'm going to give you a how-to on how to use the Bible study guide, the Bible study for 1,000 Gifts by Ann Voskamp, right? So this is a DVD study with the study guide as well as a DVD to pop in and watch. So I'm going to give you a brief overview about how to use this to lead a Bible study with the people in your small group. Maybe it's a women's study or men and women, doesn't really matter, but just want to give you some how-tos and some tips on how to lead a great study through this fantastic material that Ann Voskamp and Zondervan have put together. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you as a facilitator, first about how you want to prepare for the group. Then I'm going to talk to you about how to format your group meeting, the sections you're going to want to have. Then I'm going to talk to you about what to do with the material, kind of an overview of this material, okay? So first, let's talk about your preparation for the small group, okay? So there's two main things you're going to want to do, or two sections of preparation you're going to want to do for your small group. Number one, about a month before your small group starts, you want to make sure you got all your materials from your small groups pastor, okay? Make sure you've got a DVD, okay? There's only one DVD. Pop it in your DVD player and make sure it works, because I've had groups before where they pop it in there the night of and then, man, it don't work. It's a defective one or something, right? So pop it in there, make sure it works in your DVD player. Number two, make sure you have the correct study guides, okay? Because there's study guides, there's journals, there's books for this material. Make sure you have the one that's a study guide. Then make sure you have plenty of them. Make sure you have enough for the people in your group. Then make sure you have, some extras. If someone forgets one and needs to borrow one, or if you have new people in your group, make sure that you have extras, okay? And another thing you want to do is you want to read the small group leader helps in the back, right? That's on pages 89 and 90. They have some small group leader helps that's going to help you kind of think through your group and how you want to format it and things like that. Then what you want to do each week to prepare for your group is going to be a little different. So each week you're going to want to do some things and prepare for your group. Number one, you're going to want to watch the session for the DVD for that week, okay? It's usually about 22, 23 minutes is each session. They're pretty short. I have a little portable DVD player that I like to just take with me around the house as I'm doing stuff, and I watch our material that way. That might be something you can do. Then you want to take some notes. Maybe jot down a couple ideas, a couple thoughts while she's talking and going through the material. Then you want to make a plan for your group, right? So you're kind of getting a feel for what's going on. Make a plan for how you want to format your group and what you want to do, right? How many of the questions do you want to cover? Which order do you want to do these things in? Do you like the order? Is this question kind of confusing? How can you explain it a little bit better? Things like that. Then you want to read the passages in the Bible study section, right? So after you watch the video, there's a video discussion and Bible study. And there's usually a few passages. Go ahead and take some time and read those passages. Maybe you have a study Bible, a good study Bible. Pull that out and read the passages and what it says about those, right? Look up some study notes and be ready to facilitate a discussion. In the description below, I give you the two Bibles that I like to use, the Bible that I like to read from and teach from, and then there's a Bible, the ESV study Bible, that I like to study from, okay? And I have links to those in the description below. And that might be something you need to get to help you prepare to facilitate a discussion, right? So that's how you prepare for the group. Now, how do you format your group? In your group, you're going to want to have really 5 different elements with this 1,000 gifts, right? You want to start with the unifying question. The unifying question is the question where you start your group out by asking, what did you all take away from the message at church over the weekend, right? What did you take away from the message at church over the weekend, all right? And when you do that for 3 reasons. We do the unifying question for 3 reasons. One, you want to make sure that what we're doing in a small group is helping to complement what's going on at church on the weekend. We never want a small group to replace people attending church. We want it to complement it. So you're asking that unifying question to remind people, hey, your small group's not your church. Your church is your church, at the weekend, okay? Number 2, we want to remind people what they learned at church over the weekend and help them apply it. Because if your group meets on a Wednesday, people probably have already forgot what the message was about on a Sunday or Saturday or Thursday at our church, right? We have a Thursday service. So you want to remind them what they learned. Number 3, be surprised how many times something is said during the message at church on the weekend that applies directly to what your group is going to go through in the study, right? So those are 3 reasons we do the unifying question. So that's something you want to do first. Kind of helps people get warmed up. It's a good icebreaker to get people to open up and talk a little bit, okay? Then you're going to want to read the introduction for the lesson for that week, for that session, right? There's usually a 1-page introduction. You as the facilitator need to read that unless you know there's someone in your group that's a good reader and that likes to read. Never, ever, ever just call on someone to read if you don't know that they're a good reader and that they like to read, okay? So if it's a new group, you just read it for the first few weeks until you get a feel for who likes to read and doesn't mind reading. Then you're going to want to do the talk about it. So there's a little talk about it section after the introduction that kind of gets people warmed up. Then you're going to want to watch the session DVD, okay? And then you're going to want to do the video discussion and Bible study guide. So that's 5 elements. There's a lot, which, I'm going to talk about the length of the study in a bit. It's kind of a lot to do in one session, so we'll talk about that a little later. And additionally, in addition to those 5 things, you're going to want to do some snacks and prayer. You can add those at the beginning or the end, whatever might work best for you and your group, okay? So now I want to give you an overview of the 1,000 Gifts Bible Study Guide. I just mentioned that it's 5 sessions, but that there's a lot of elements in each session, so you might want to develop a plan for your group, right? Say, maybe each week we're going to do, the Unifying Question, read the introduction, the talk it out, watch the DVD, and then just do 2 questions from the Bible study and discussion section, right? And then next week we're going to do questions 3 through 10, and just talk, right? So you need to come up with a little bit of a plan, watch some of the material, work through it on your own, and then you as the facilitator, as the leader of your small group, need to come to the group with a plan and ask people what they think of the plan, right? Say, I've been through this is what I think we should do, this is what I suggest, unless anyone really disagrees. Most of the time they're going to just go with it, right? What you don't want to do is just show up, you've never looked at the material, you've never watched the DVD, and then you realize you can't get through the whole lesson, so you just skip half of it, and the next week you skip half of it, and the next week they say, well, we want to talk about that from last week. Then, everyone, you as a facilitator need to come ready with the plan and set the agenda for your group and lead your group, okay? So that's something you want to be doing, right? So that's how I'd go about the 5 sessions. I'd stretch it to probably 10, more than likely. I think that makes sense, just to divide up each one, I think is a good way to do it. This material by Ann Voskamp is really good, titled 1,000 Gifts. It's about gratitude and gratefulness in our lives, and I think it's great for us to be reminded that as we think about things that we're grateful for, not to always turn the attention on us, but to put the attention on God, right? To be reminded of God's grace and goodness while we express those gifts. So I think that's just something as us as Americans are easy to always be thinking, me. But instead we need to direct that focus to God. God has provided these things to us, and I'm grateful for those gifts that He has given us. So that's just something you might want to kind of help guide your discussion with your group on doing that, okay? I like this material because it has a good blend of Old Testament and New Testament in the Bible study guide. So pretty much each session, she'll usually talk about an Old Testament story and a New Testament story. With that, she also talks about some words, some backgrounds. She'll talk about the Hebrew and the Greek and the Latin. Don't worry too much about that. Don't let your group start Googling the words and then talking about it. Ann talks about Latin, I think, once. The Bible's not written in Latin, so she's kind of going off in a little bit of an area. Don't even get into it. Stick with the material. Stick with what she says. Don't let your group start doing their own word studies of Greek and Hebrew and Latin when they have never studied those areas, okay? When you are watching the video sessions, as I watch the material, she kind of bounces around a lot, right? So it's not like a sermon video series where the person stands up, he reads the text, he preaches 5 points, and then you talk about the material, right? She usually starts each of the 5 sessions with a story, then she goes into a little scripture, then she comes back to the story, then she goes into a little scripture, and then she goes back to the story, okay? And then she'll give some applications. So it's a little hard to follow. You got to make sure people are paying attention. So just be aware of that in your group. You might want to share that with your group. It's not like she's going to just teach from scripture time after time or just tell story. She usually starts with one big story, sprinkles in some scripture, and then ties it together. And once you get a little feel for her format, it makes sense and it speaks to you, but it took me probably till the 3rd session to kind of get a feel for what she was doing and how she was going about the study, okay? So I think I covered everything for you on the overview and the material. This is a great study. I hope it's fruitful for you. I'll put a couple links in the description below for the 1,000 Gifts, maybe on Amazon. It's an affiliate code, so if you buy anything from Amazon, I do get a commission off of that, just so you know, just for material disclosure there. If you need a good Bible study Bible, I'll put the 2 Bibles that I recommend down there as well, if that might help you. So my name is Christopher Scott. Hope this is a helpful video for you. If you want to subscribe and get updates on other videos that I produce, you can subscribe up there. If you want to learn how to use some other Bible study guides by Chip Ingram, they're also DVD guides. I have some videos on there. If you want to do some verse-by-verse Bible studies, using the Warren Wiersbe studies, which I really like. I got those go through books of the Bible. And then I have some small group facilitator tips down there you might find helpful. Thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you again on another video.